Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, Nintendo left the Game Awards empty-handed, which is surprising because they swept the Carties. Grumble, grumble, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society grumbles with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I'm joined, as I'm always joined by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including all of the announcements from the Game Awards. Most of the announcements from the Game Awards. Probably not all of them. Some of them. An amount of them. And then on Thursday, Mark, if you can believe it, it's part one of our two-part Christmas special.
Oh my gosh.
But in the meantime, yes, how's it going?
It's going great. And you're right. I wrote all of the announcements from the Game Awards, but that is patently false. We are absolutely not going to be.
Cannot be true.
No,
right.
we're definitely not going to be talking about all of them. But some of them, yes. Some of them for sure.
Some of them for sure. Some that I watched, happen, those announcements in real time. I watched a lot of these Game Awards, Mark.
Yeah, I saw people popping off about it in the Discord.
Yep, that's right. And if you're not in the Discord, things are happening all out of order right now, and that's okay. We're living in the moment. But if you want to get into that Discord, you should email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. It's where you can process this kind of stuff as it's happening live with other like-minded weirdos who want to talk about it with you. A couple programming reminders, Mark, before we dive into today's show. This is our last news episode of the year.
Oh my gosh.
Nothing else better happen between now and January 7th.
It would be pretty devastating but funny in a way if they're like, do you know what? The day after Christmas, let's do it. We're going to do the Switch successor reveal.
Right. Yeah, that would be it would be awful. It would be like it would be life ruining, not for you and I think we'd be okay. But there are people whose livelihood depends on, reporting this stuff out as it's happening. But we will not be doing that over the next 2 weeks. So we do part one of our Christmas episode on Thursday. Part two will come out the next week, the week of Christmas itself. That will be the only episode that we put out that week. And then the following week, we will also only be doing one episode, and that will be a look back, a year in review. In a format TBD. That'll all happen then, and then we will be back to normal. On January 7th will be our first news episode back, and then we're just back to normal, 2 episodes a week, until this time next year. Let's see. Mark, if people would like to support us, they can go to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, and if they are supporting us at the 8-bit or the 16-bit levels, they get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries like NCS Arcade.
Yes, we just put out an episode about Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga that if you're an 8-bit or 16-bit supporter, you can check out. But anyone who is following us on Patreon, whether you're supporting us or you're just following for free, everybody should go over to Patreon and subscribe, because everybody gets free episodes that we put out that are like our listener feedback episodes. So after we put out an episode about a game, we then solicit emails, which I'm doing right now, and you can write in about Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga or any thing you want to talk about in the Mario & Luigi series, and then Patrick and I will respond to that, and it goes out for free on our Patreon feed. And we're going to be doing that for Mario & Luigi in January, so you have a little bit extra time to figure out, really formulate your thoughts. Yeah.
Really, what do you want to say about Mario and Luigi? Think about it, right? And then also Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga was our November episode for NCS Arcade. For December, we have the return of NCS Detective Club, where Mark and I watched Mr. Monk and the Secret Santa. We are returning to Monk, and that episode will be in your feeds, I believe, on Friday, we said?
I think so.
Going out this Friday. Fun episode, good time. We were just happy to see Monk again. It's a good time.
It's a good time.
So So check that out if you are supporting us on Patreon. Mark, I think that is it for the top of show business. You ready to get into what we've been playing this week?
Let's do it.
Okay, first I just want to describe a strange little experience that I had. I have been spending some time with the NES Nintendo Switch Online app because it is fun to play old games, and because we had a good conversation about during the Carties. I talked about the map at the end of World 8-4 and Super Mario Brothers, and I realized that between that game, between Nintendo World Championships and NES Remix, I have been taught so many like extra tricks and ways to approach Super Mario Brothers that it's now just like fun for me to play it at a borderline expert level, where I just like know how to like run through the game a number of different ways. So I was just playing it and like ran through the game, like the loop of the game all the way through, beating it multiple times, and was just having a blast. Super Mario Brothers rules. Hot take, it's a good game.
Yeah, I remember being a kid, before I even really knew what speedrunning was, but I would always challenge myself to like, can I get through Super Mario Brothers in less than 10 minutes? And obviously that's, a time has been obliterated, but to me that felt like such an achievement to be able to do it in that time.
Oh, it still is. I mean, like I think it takes me more than 10 minutes, but anyway, I was having a blast doing that. But then earlier today, I was I was working and saw a little like notification pop up on my phone, and the phone was just saying, in the Nintendo Music app, you can listen to music from Super Mario Brothers. And I was like, and I opened it up, and I was like, was Super Mario Brothers not in here before? Is this the notification of what the new tracks are? And no. It was just reading my recently played games and suggesting that I listen to music from my recently played games.
Doesn't that feel so sophisticated for a Nintendo Online thing?
Absolutely.
Because I remember when the music app came out and we saw that it had a section that seemed like it was games that you owned on Switch or that you had played on Switch, but we were like, is this real or is this just... we just happen to basically own every Nintendo game available on Switch, and so it's true for us.
That does make it difficult because famously I purchased every game that came out on Switch last year. But yeah, it is it's a remarkable little feature that they were able to be like, hey bro, you like Super Mario Brothers, you were just playing it for like 2 hours, so here's the music. And I like played the first track that's on there and then was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it is kind of a funny thing to suggest where it's like, oh right, I was just listening to this as I was playing this game for 2 hours.
Right. The same 45-second loop over and over again.
Yeah, but it is a cool feature.
Mark, what have you been playing?
So I returned to The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom and have put a little bit more time into it. And I'm still not super far. I just met Luberry.
Yeah.
And yes,
boy Luberry.
Exactly. Yeah. So Impa's brother. So I had previously played a little bit of it and sat it down. Yeah, such a tiny bit. And sat it down and was like, oh, that was fine, but I really hadn't given it very much time to grab me, and I still am very early in the game. But maybe I'm in a different mindset now. I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed it a lot more, and I'm enjoying how puzzly it is because the combat is not so traditional. I mean, of course, you do have the sword fighter power that you can transform into, but and that is super handy, especially being able to jump a little higher with it. But there's something really fun about having to figure out, how am I going to defeat the Dark Link and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Just with the tools that I have. And even the 2D sections, I think, are way more fun than they are in Link's Awakening, because they add so much more puzzle solving to them.
Yeah, well, and there are some of the echoes that really only make sense in that setting. Like there's the spider that automatically has the like string of web that goes like vertically straight up, and that's something that like doesn't really do anything on the like overhead view, but in the side view it's like, oh yeah, it functions this way specifically. And it is neat to have a game that has so many of these like 2D borderline puzzle platformy challenges in them. Like you said, that's present in Link's Awakening, but it's not. I mean, there's so little of it.
Yeah, and I feel like Link's Awakening is so straightforward. Like it really is just kind
Yeah.
of, and not that, at least the ones that I've encountered so far, not that they're like super complex puzzles or anything, but usually there's one thing on the screen that that you take a second to be like, well,
Yeah.
how do I get up there? I obviously have an echo that can do it, that can help me, and I just
Yep.
kind of have to figure out what the game is asking of me. But yeah, I'm enjoying it.
Echoes of Wisdom is kind of the king of that. Like, wait, how do I do this? Oh, here I, like where it's just out of reach for just long enough that you feel smart when you get to it, even if it wasn't a genuine puzzle.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Well, that's great. I'm looking forward to hearing more about your progress. Mark, two tips I will give you as you have now met Luberry and are like more into the world here. And I also just said his name strangely now. I said Luberry, I don't know. Is return to Luberry's house frequently and upgrade your sword fighter power as much as you can. Because that is a thing that will, if you can keep that gauge up higher or longer, or if your sword deals more damage, it's just like useful to do that. And then also find the Great Fairy on the little island so you can and start like upgrading through her as well.
Oh, that is good to know. Um, because I wasn't sure how helpful, like how much time I should put into upgrading the sword fighter ability. So that's good to know that
Yeah, you
it is
should.
worthwhile.
I'm Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing. Tries. I don't know if they show up at the end of every rift when you've like fixed it, but tries friends I think are so
Yeah.
cute when they're all like in there together. It
Kind of like
reminds me.
dancing.
Yeah, it reminds me of the little guys that show up in Miyazaki films all the time.
Yeah, sure. Those weird little like in Mononoke.
Yeah, those ones, and then in the most recent one, they had also just very similar, just like
Oh yeah, great point.
weird little things.
Weird little spirit guys.
Yeah.
Then the other things that I've been playing, I guess I've been messing around a lot with the Nintendo Switch Online. But last week, Tetris, NES Tetris came out, and so I've been playing some NES Tetris, which is just a great, solid way to play Tetris. I'm not saying anything revolutionary there, but as sort of a surprise, last week on the 12th, when they had said that they were going to be releasing NES Tetris, they also released Tetris DX on the Game Boy Color. So that is just like another Tetris game that's now available for you to play, which means when you open the Game Boy app on NSO, you have both Game Boy Tetris and Tetris DX on Game Boy Color to choose from. Okay, fine. And I really enjoyed messing around with Tetris DX. It does like when you level up, it kind of like fades in a new background color, which is obviously like a totally novel thing for the Game Boy to be displaying color, let alone like just displaying a whole new like sheet of color behind the action. And I actually found it to be like a suitably like trippy, transformative, fun thing to happen at the level up. Not quite on the scale of like a Tetris effect or anything like that, but I was getting like vibes of that. And then that both Tetris and Tetris DX were like there was a release trailer that had Alexei Pajitnov like talking about Tetris in it, which was super cool. It's fun to see another like gaming personality trotted out to celebrate some early versions of his game.
Yeah, that was a really fun, kind of cute surprise.
Yeah.
Had a question about Tetris DX. Did they? I've never played it before. Do they introduce some sort of like new gameplay mechanic to it? They always try to like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, and I played it now. I can't remember what it is, but there's like another. It's like another mode, but it's not. It's not like a different like crazy version of Tetris or anything like that. It's mostly just like a functional Tetris game.
Oh, got it. It doesn't. They haven't changed like the core Tetris gameplay.
Right. We're not talking Tetris 2. We're not talking Hatris. We're not talking Tetris Sphere. It's just like another another take on basic Tetris.
Funny to, like you said, have like Tetris for the Game Boy, and then we're just gonna do
Yes.
Tetris again for the Game Boy Color.
I did so like well Tetris DX looks quite good. There are a couple like strange little gameplay quirks about it. The fat like the higher level you get and your blocks are falling faster. You start to notice that there is like a strange lag between when your Tetramino locks into place and when it deploys the next one. It feels like it's just like a split second too long. So like there's that, and then as the blocks are falling, it feels like they're offset by a pixel from where they would settle when they land. So like if you're ever doing a thing where you're like sliding a T-shaped piece like under one of those like a Z-shaped piece, that like they don't exactly line up until it locks into place, and then it's like boom, now like pixels are lined up. It's strange. I don't know why it's like that.
Yeah, that is funny, and it feels like, especially going from something like Tetris 99, which I feel like, is Tetris
Right.
perfected,
Yeah.
to go to something like that with those little quirks would be uh kind of challenging, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like a little. It's still, super fun to play. And NES Tetris doesn't have that. Game Boy Tetris doesn't have that. Really, just the DX version. It's the cost mark of adding color.
That's right.
All right. Well, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
So there's really not a single game that I want to talk about here, but Monday night, as it has consistently done since the app was released,
Mm-hmm.
the Nintendo Music app got an update, and the new soundtrack added was The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, which is exciting because that is a very, very good soundtrack.
It is exciting and like edifying and just good when they add a soundtrack from, I guess, like GameCube or later, right?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's always, I guess, interesting when they give us a brain training or something like that. And the week,
Sure.
I think the week before was Wave Race 64, which was awesome. But
Yeah, excited about that.
yeah, it definitely has a different tenor to it when it's coming from later Nintendo.
Yeah, and I guess also just when it's a Zelda game, right? Like that's also part of it where I'm like, oh yeah, the Zelda series, renowned for their tunes. So that's just exciting.
It's also funny to call it like later Nintendo because the game is probably 15 years old.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I mean, you and I played the remaster of it, and even the remaster was like 2 or 3 years old at this point, right?
Yeah, totally. But
Fun
yeah, I
game.
think that's it. I don't really know. Is there anything on here that strikes your fancy?
Boy, I don't think so. I mean, what do you want from like the week before Christmas, right? Like, if you want to put out a game this year, you would have done it already, right?
Yeah, totally.
All right. Well, let's close out the new releases. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433 marked on to talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, I'm setting up the timer. Please introduce the topic.
Yes, Christmas is right around the corner. So, Patrick, I want to talk about things that you had on your Christmas wish list as a kid. Like, when you hear that, is there anything that stands out to you that you were like, ooh, one year I like really wanted this thing?
Right. Well, and I'm going to find a way to do this without talking about Nintendo.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because I would frequently ask for Nintendo games, and there is a picture of me holding a Super Mario pillow that I got for Christmas one year. I will post it in the Discord. But yeah, I have a hard time recalling like specific things that I wanted, but I remember being very specific about it, right? That I would like write a list and it would be like this thing for, like this action figure from this series, this color variant, like really laying it out there because I had specific desires and specific needs.
And what a nightmare that must have been for your parents in the
The
days
worst.
before like the internet, right? Because even now it can be hard to find a hot
Mhm.
like Christmas toy or something. But in the days before, you had the option of a catalog, maybe, hopefully, or just finding it in the store. Like, were they usually successful in tracking down those like really specific
Yeah,
requests?
I think they were usually pretty successful, but yeah, I'm certain that my mother brought my handwritten list to like Target and we're like, and went up to like someone in the store and was like, "Can you help me find this?" Do you have any like specific memories of things that you had on your wish list?
I mean, I feel like the year I had some that were not attainable for my parents. Like the year that
Yeah.
Batman Returns came out, what I asked for Christmas was a contract from Warner Brothers for me to play Bat-Kid in a new Batman
Yeah,
movie.
okay. Who?
And yeah. And when I was a kid,
You knew you couldn't be Robin.
I knew I couldn't be Robin. I'm not a Robin. I'm not a Robin. I'm a Bat
You're not a
Kid.
Robin. You're not a Robin. You're a bad kid.
And when I was younger, I really liked to put on like productions and stuff. And
Yeah.
so I would keep cardboard boxes so I could use them to like
Mhm.
build stuff with. But the thing really felt like would put my little productions over the top was a fog machine. And so there was many a year
Yeah.
that I wanted a fog machine before that wish was granted. But and I
Yeah.
think my parents had that fog machine until their like most recent move. It was just like in their basement.
That is one of those things where you're like, we can't get rid of the fog machine, and you can't. You also can't be like, ask your neighbors like, hey, do you need a fog machine?
Right. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You can't get rid of it because you're like, well, what if we start getting really into Halloween or something like that?
Right. Right. Yes. I mean, look, I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Right.
Oh yeah, a fog machine is the ultimate that thing for sure.
I know that there was a year that I really wanted a ping pong table. Like really, really badly. My brother and I both like teamed up to ask for it. And that we were like, we can split a ping pong table. And my parents got it, and it like lived in the garage. Like in the weeks up to Christmas, because like you can't wrap a ping pong table. It's a piece of furniture. Um, and then we had like 3 or 4 good months of like actually playing ping pong, and then it just became like another thing around which we could make a fort in the basement.
Yeah, totally. When when the ping pong table was living in the garage, did you know that it was there? Like, were you like, ah, there's the ping pong table we're getting for Christmas?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
impossible to hide it. Like it's too like and it was like in the mode where it was like standing upright, like where like it kind of collapses upright.
Uh-huh.
But like that just means there's like this 8 foot tall thing in the garage. Like, yeah, it cannot be hidden.
So you were old enough that it didn't destroy the illusion of Christmas for you.
That's right. It did not. Well, and it was coming from.
Well, we'll never
It
know.
was coming. We'll never know who it was coming from. We were accompanied today by a timer on my phone. All right, Mark. Let's get into the news.
Well, last week was of course,
Of
gaming's
course.
biggest night, the Cardies, but it was also the Game Awards, and believe it or not, there were
I just one quick note about the Game Awards before we like dig into like announcements and stuff. There was no point during the award show where they promised to broadcast the show from a limousine next year. So I just want you to know that's the difference in production quality between the Cardies and the Game Awards.
yeah, your move, Keeley. But yeah, there were a few games announced for Switch coming out next year. First was Catly, which is I don't. It's a cat game. I don't really know what it is. The cats look weird. There is some
Did you
controversy
did
over
you watch
people.
this trailer?
I did watch the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, the cats are like slinking around, and they kind of look like they're like cyber cats. I don't really understand what's being sold
I mean,
here.
it looks like AI slop, right? I know the devs are denying that AI was used in the creation of this game, but like it's the kind of thing where like the art style of the cats are different. Like if you were to command AI to like give me a picture of a lot of cats, it would just be like, okay, here we go. Some of them look like cartoons, some of them look like real cats, and they're all strange colors. And yeah, I mean, it looks bad. Catley, I'm voting now. Bad.
They also showed off. Bandai Namco showed off Shadow Labyrinth, which is a new take on Pac-Man that is coming next year. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of all for it. I mean, if you're gonna
All
reboot,
right, there we go.
if you're gonna reboot Pac-Man, like I like Pac-Man fine. But like I don't feel like Pac-Man's a sacred cow. It's like, sure, yeah, Pac-Man can become this weird like venom like goo monster at the end of this trailer. Sure, why
Right.
not?
Well, so here's my thinking on it is that they had some kind of game and they were like, this is a little bit Pac-Man-y. What if we just put Pac-Man in it? And now, instead of being a Bandai Namco game that no one talks about ever, it's a game that at least gets the marketing beat of, did you see this weird new dark take on Pac-Man?
Right, and it looks like it's maybe like a Metroidvania or something like that, and
Yeah,
Pac-Man
yeah,
seems
that's
to
what
be
it reads like to me.
the companion that is like following behind the main player character, but hard to say.
Mark,
I guess
would you say that this is the spiritual successor to A Boy and His Blob?
you know what? Yeah. Yeah, you could put that on the box and attribute it
There
to
we
me.
go.
Sure. Yeah, totally.
Great. A man and his Pac-Man.
One man, one Pac-Man.
No jelly beans.
No jelly beans. And then the third game that was announced for Switch that I want to talk about was Ninja Gaiden Ragebound, which is
Yeah.
coming out in summer 2025, and it's like a side-scrolling, retro-looking Ninja Gaiden game. But I think it looks pretty cool. They spend so much of
Yeah.
the trailer just showing an anime cutscene, and then the last, like fourth of it is gameplay. But I thought the gameplay looked cool. Like I don't know why we needed all the anime preamble.
I mean, that's just part of like the Ninja Gaiden like DNA, right? Even back on like the NES, that it had these like cutscenes in between each level, which is like sort of unheard of at the time, right? And stuff that looked like genuinely cinematic and cool. But yeah, it's nice to see Ninja Gaiden back in a way that is not like the sort of like 3D action game. I know those games are loved. I never clicked with them. So yeah, I'm excited to see like a classic style Ninja Gaiden back.
And there were some other big announcements that a couple of them maybe will show up on the Switch successor, but I would say the majority of these probably will not end up on a Nintendo platform. But maybe fun to run down some
But
of
we'll
them.
we'll, we'll see. We'll see. Obviously they can't say anything. We didn't see like any coming to Nintendo. We didn't see any of that kind of wishy-washiness like we'd seen from the ukulele remake trailer. So like everyone during the Game Awards kept up kayfabe and was like, "Yeah, we don't know anything about a new Switch."
That's right, but that doesn't mean that none of these will eventually show up on there.
Right.
Specifically starting with Okami 2, which is a sequel to a Wii game, right? Was it originally on Wii or no, it was originally on GameCube.
Right.
Yeah, or was it on PS2? Anyways, it's like a Zelda-like that was
It has appeared on all these platforms, I'm pretty sure.
yeah, was from Capcom, from like Clover Studios, which when that was shut down, that became Platinum Games, and then there's recently been an exodus kind of from Platinum Games to this new development team called Clovers that turns out they're working on Okami 2 with Hideki Kamiya directing. So I have never beaten Okami before, but I know that
Yeah.
it has quite the following as like a very good Zelda-like.
We should. Well, I feel like we've maybe talked about doing like a survey of like Zelda likes before. Maybe that could even be like a theme month. I'm brainstorming here. But I think you and I should check out the original Okami. Did they do like a re-release of it on Switch at some point?
I'm pretty sure it is on Switch, yeah, and I might have even
Okay.
bought it, but I can't remember for sure. Uh,
Most of what I know about Okami comes from my experience playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3, in which Amaterasu is one of the playable characters. So I've controlled the main character before,
because
just in a fighting game.
Omaterasu is the wolf.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. I assumed that character's name was Okami.
No. Turns out no.
Also from Capcom, they announced a reboot of, or maybe just a continuation of Onimusha, which is a series that I have not played, but like an action series that was, I think from the PlayStation and PlayStation 2 era.
Yeah, that's right. This is another. It's funny that they're announcing new entries in both Okami and Onimusha, because these are two series that I have very little experience with, and that I always confuse with each other because they're both like Japanese sounding words that start with the letter O, single word game titles that I didn't play from Capcom. But Onimusha is more of a like samurai action game that started out sort of in the vein of Resident Evil and got a little bit more like Devil May Cry-y as it went on. There's a couple games in the franchise. Another thing that I'm like, yeah, Capcom, bring this stuff back. I'm excited to like dip into the modern versions of these things.
Yeah, and I know it's kind of repetitive at this point, but Dino Crisis, right? We all just
Dino
want
Crisis,
Dino
right?
Crisis back.
Yes. Get Dino Crisis back. Team up with Disney. We need DuckTales 3,
Oh yeah,
right?
that'd be fun. That would be fun. Okay, I'm just gonna kind of like fly through a couple of these, but stop me if there's anything you want to say about them. Uh,
Yep.
Split Fiction was shown off, which is the new game from the creator of It Takes Two, and The Witcher 4
Oh,
was
sorry.
shown off.
I did want to I did want to say something about Split Fiction for a second. Only because it is from the studio that made It Takes Two, which is headed by Joseph Ferris, whose brand in the gaming industry has just become the guy who swears.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It's weird. Whenever he's on the stage and he's talking about his games, he's like just swearing up a storm, and it's like your games are like Split Fiction it's like a two-player like action sort of platformer thing. It's like simultaneous action where it's people being pulled into like the worlds they create. They're both writers. One of them writes sci-fi, the other writes fantasy, and they like get pulled into those worlds. It's a cool concept, but it seems like very sweetly presented. Then he's just like, well, I'm not going to swear because we don't do that on the show. But it's just there's a funny disconnect there.
Anything you want to say about The Witcher 4?
No, not really. You're not you never played like Witcher 3 or anything like that, right?
No, I mean it even came to Switch in the Wild
Yeah.
Hunt edition that is supposed to be a really good port, but it's one of those things where totally believe that if I got into it, I would really love it.
You'd
But
like
it's
it,
hard.
yeah.
But it's hard for me to want to commit, especially when it has all the DLC and everything. And it's like, oh, geez, this is going to be like multiple hundreds of hours to
Right.
get through.
Yeah, I mean the trailer that they showed for Witcher 4 was like it was just like a cinematic trailer, which included a lot of like combat in the cinematic, so it doesn't even seem like it's something that would appear in the game. Like they're truly just doing like a sort of tone piece for what the game that they're going for. So I mean this is something I don't think we'll see until like 2026 at the earliest. It looks impressive, of course, but it's just sort of a CG trailer. Not even a trailer, it's just like a scene from what the game could be.
Also shown off was a teaser trailer for Fumito Ueda's next game. This is like the creator of Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. And right now it's just codenamed Project Robot. But it also just looks cool.
cool and moody, and like it's funny that they were like, this is the gameplay trailer for Project Robot, and as far as I can tell, the only gameplay in there is like the dude climbs a ladder, right?
Yep. Up this like giant, like robot thing, and then you see this horde of enemies. But
Right.
like the colors and everything, it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
Um,
very evocative, and felt like it was getting to some like emotional profundity via a horde of monster ghosts and a giant mech. So like, yep, sign me up. I'm interested.
and coming from Epic Games after, like for
Yeah.
so long being part of Sony's like first party releases, to have their next game coming from Epic. And Elden Ring Night Rain, which is like an Elden Ring multiplayer spin-off thing. I really can't speak
Hmm.
intelligently to this one. I haven't played any Elden Ring.
Yeah, but I mean, it is a spin-off and like a standalone separate experience. Obviously, Elden Ring just had their like big DLC in the Shadow of the Erd Tree, and this is something that you will not need to have the original game in order to access.
And it makes sense for them to do this with how successful Elden Ring was.
Totally,
Um,
yeah.
and then finally, to me, like the most exciting reveal, the thing that I thought looked the coolest and I kind of have the highest hopes for, and that's the new Naughty Dog game, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, which I think just looks awesome and just looks incredible.
Yeah, well, and like, I mean, I'm a big fan of the Naughty Dog games. I think they do good work. And sometimes I love them when they're dealing with a real like edgy kind of like genre pushing bum you out sort of stuff, like the Last of Us games. And this looks like maybe it has some of that, but also is just like a fun kind of like sci-fi action thing. So like, yeah, I'm there to see how this thing turns out.
Yeah, this is another one that it feels like most of what we saw was, like cinematic and stuff, and
Totally, yeah.
really difficult to understand how it plays. It is maybe actiony, but it's hard to
Yeah,
know.
good point. Good point. Maybe it's a tactics game. We don't know. I'd be
uh,
surprised.
of course, the Game of the Year award was given out to Astrobot,
Yep.
and Nintendo went home empty-handed this year. Obviously, a strange year for Nintendo releases, but no awards for Nintendo at the Game Awards this year.
Yeah, a strange year for the industry, I think, kind of overall, right? Like it was just a weird year for games. Um, and seeing the nominations was kind of like, yeah, I don't know that Nintendo really stands to win any of these. So
Yeah,
if
totally.
only Emio had been nominated for Narrative of the Year, then maybe, but it wasn't.
Yep, that's one of those that in years in the future, people will be like, "How was Emio robbed?"
Yeah, that's right. And they'll bring up the list of nominations and be like, none of these are as good as Emio.
Last week when we took a trip back to the Switch 2 rumor mill, we mentioned that some accessory manufacturers had started to announce and even sell accessories like cases and screen protectors for the yet to be officially revealed console. And one of those companies, D-Brand, claims to have the actual dimensions of the rumored Nintendo Switch 2. When
Yeah.
the company announced its Kill Switch 2 case, they showcased a render and hardware mockup, and that stated that the Switch 2 will be larger than its predecessor. D-Brand CEO Adam Jaz is what I'm going to go with, claims
Sure.
the measurements are based on a 3D scan of the real hardware, but declined to provide further details when questioned by The Verge. And look, there have been like schematics and all that kind of stuff out for a while, so it wouldn't be that difficult, for people probably have 3D printed um a mock-up of what the Switch 2
Hmm.
probably looks like, but um that I feel like this has also happened with like iPhone accessories and all that stuff in the past, and it turned out that the schematics were wrong. Also, what a great way to, if you're the CEO of an accessories company, to get a little free press.
Right, because now everyone is saying kill switch at least once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean this is just another like, sign in the like we are getting so close to the reveal of this thing that like, we can't cover all of the like points in the piping where water is squirting out, right? Like all we can do is all they can do is like just grasp and hope that the real things aren't shown off right away. But yeah, I think this is probably what the Switch 2 looks like, right?
Yeah, I think so. But it does make me more convinced that there's going to be something that we're not expecting, whether it's,
Yeah.
like software on the system itself, not like a game, but something to do with the
Yeah,
system
some
software
system
itself.
level. Yeah.
There's got to be some hook to it. I would just be really surprised if it's just like, yep, here's a Switch and the Joy-Cons are magnetic now.
Right. The Joy-Cons are magnetic, the buttons are a little bit bigger, and it's more powerful. That can't be it. I'm sure that's all true, but that can't be it.
Yeah, it just feels very unlikely to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess hopefully we won't have to wait that much longer to find out. Because of course they're going to announce it when we're on break.
Right. December 26th.
Yep. The Pokemon Company and stop motion animation company Aardman announced they're working on a project together with a target release date of 2027. No other details have been revealed, but the press release teases the quote collaboration will see Aardman bringing its unique style of storytelling to the Pokemon universe in brand new adventures.
Adventures. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, Aardman is probably best known for Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I
So
think
what
this
is
could be.
this? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it could be fun. And last year we had Pokemon Concierge on Netflix that kind of had like a stop motion aesthetic to it, but those were just like shorts. And yeah, I wonder if this is another like series like that, or could it be a feature length film? I don't know. Could be fun.
Yeah, it's yeah, and or just like a series of like shorts, right? Because like that's sort of where like Wallace and Gromit lives, right? Like there are feature length movies, but it mostly lives in that like half hour length like special kind of territory. Um, I mean, whatever this ends up being, I'm super interested in it. You and I both really liked Pokemon Concierge, despite the fact that we're not like Pokemon anime guys. I think we just need like it in a slightly different context, and then we can groove on it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing whatever this is. 2027, a hilariously long time from now.
Yeah, totally. There might not even be a Zelda live action movie by 2027.
That's true. When was the? It was just by 2030. Is that right?
I don't even remember if it had any sort of date to it attached to it at all. Maybe in one of their
I
like
feel
earnings
yeah.
sheets they had something like that.
Right, that it was like 2020X or something like that, right? Yeah.
Um, is Avia Rod involved with Craven the Hunter? That movie has he been involved with all
Yeah,
the
I mean, I
Sony
think so.
Spider Verse things?
It's possible. I can't say with any certainty. But like Craven just like crap in the bed at the box office this weekend, right?
Right.
And to the point where analysts are like, well, that's probably the end of Sony's Spider-Man interconnected universe movies without Spider-Man in them. Which is probably fine. I like those Venom movies, but like everything else here is just like a disaster. So.
Except for Morbius, of course.
Except for Morbius, of course, and Madam Web. Okay, they're all hits, but
Like Emio, people in the future will look back and be like, "How was this overlooked?" No, Emio's actually good. Nintendo now owns 100% of Monolith Soft, the developers of the Xenoblade Chronicle series, and a support studio on many of Nintendo's own first-party games. I thought they already did. I didn't realize that they didn't own 100% of it, but I guess in 2007 they bought 80% of the company, then increased that to 96% in 2011, and now they own that final 4%. That last 4 was previously held by the company's founders, but now Nintendo owns all of it, which kind of is similar to what we saw with ND Cube, right? Which is now just
yeah,
Nintendo Cube, the longtime developers of the Mario Party series. Nintendo had a large percentage of ND Cube previously, and just this year brought them wholly in house. So I don't know. I don't know that it really will have any effect on how they
Oh, yeah.
operate.
I mean, how could it? Like the operational difference between owning 96% of a company and owning 100% of a company is negligible. All all of the non-Nintendo owners could band together and have nowhere near your voting power. So, yeah, I don't. I don't really know what the difference could possibly be there. It is it's interesting to just see like Nintendo make that move, right? Where they're like, no, we want these things to be, wholly ours. And I hope that the original founders of the company, made out well in giving up their shares. But yeah, Monolith is now just a totally Nintendo-owned company, and we said they're a support series to many first-party Nintendo games. That includes Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, right? Like some of the like huge scale, very impressive, very important games for Nintendo. Not just the Xenoblade games, which are big and important in their own right, but just on a different scale altogether.
Yeah, totally. Nintendo has announced what is likely to be the final Tetris Maximus Cup of 2024. This one is going to be themed after The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom and starts this coming weekend and runs from the 20th to the 23rd. As always, score 100 points in Tetris 99 and you earn the theme forever.
Forever. Mark, you are a new convert to The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I assume you'll be playing this Tetris Maximus Cup.
Yeah, and as always, interesting to see like when they decide to do these marketing beats.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is really close to the game's reveal. Like we just had a NES Tetris 99 Maximus Cup, and now at the end of the year we're getting Echoes of Wisdom, even though it came out in September. But maybe they're like, oh, it's a marketing beat for the holidays or something like that.
But it's so late if it's a marketing beat for the holidays. I this is almost evidence to me that they it's not just that like we can't see like the plan. I'm convinced they have no plan, right? That it's just like they had these things and they're like, "Oh, we've got a bunch of these things that we can do." They're like, "Oh, we put out the Zelda one, right?" And someone was like, "No, we never put out the Zelda one." And they're like, "Oh, shoot. Push it out. It has to go now."
Yeah, that could totally be because there also doesn't seem to be like that much consistency as to when they do a Tetris 99 Maximus Cup.
Right.
Like it's
We
not
just
like
had one of these last week, right?
right. But anyways, yeah, I for sure will be checking this out.
Yeah.
And then finally, Nintendo Sound Clock Alarmo was updated last week to include 7 scenes from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. This is the first new game theme added to Alarmo, I believe. And we talked last week about an update to Alarmo that added some like new features ish, but otherwise didn't have anything big in it. It just makes me wonder if it was an update that was necessary to lay the groundwork for whatever
Possibly.
was
Mhm.
coming.
It was also kind of nice to having the like system update to the clock earlier because it alerts you that like something is ready. Or no, I guess did it? I don't remember now. But it probably didn't because I didn't have it connected to the internet, right? Um, and so in connecting it to the internet and having it connected, then when Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was available, there was a little message on the screen saying new alarms are available. Download now, and you just push a little button a couple times, and then it started downloading. So yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that they were like just using it as like two separate moments to like flag and be like, hey, connect this thing to the internet so it can be updated.
And we know of at least one other game will be added in the future because Animal Crossing New Horizons has previously been announced as coming to Alarmo, but I feel like they've got to do more once it officially launches, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder like what is the value in adding a bunch of different like game themes to this thing, and I kind of don't know what it is. Like you put a handful of big ones on there, and like it's not like the Nintendo Music app where it's like, oh yeah, the more stuff you put on here, the better. Because that's how I listen to music. You're hearing alarms from the Alarmo once a day, max. You know.
Right. Yeah, it just kind of feels
So yeah, I
weird
don't
to
know.
it just kind of feels weird to do all of that before it even officially launches. Like you're kind of preaching
Yeah.
to the converted at that point. So, But yeah, I mean, Nintendo gonna Nintendo, so it would not surprise me if that turns out to be the case.
Yeah, this is a profoundly Nintendo gonna Nintendo. I mean, even from like the announcement of this thing, yeah, it's crazy to me that they're gonna launch this thing wide next year while they are also launching new hardware, like new. It's just so funny to me. Why would they want to like gunk up the apparatus with like another little machine?
Well, hopefully they'll at least. Man, we've brought up MEO a lot on this episode, but hopefully they'll at least they'll add an MEO the Smiling Man one that like the sound when you're moving around in bed, like waking up, is just his breathing getting louder and louder, like he's
Right.
walking up to
Yes.
you.
And the only way to dismiss him is to laugh.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I'm pretty sure there's no microphone in the Alarmo. It just senses movement.
Yeah, that seems less
Right?
creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it like they very pointedly cannot actually see you. There's no camera in the thing.
Right.
So they say.
Yes.
All right, Mark. That's the news. Let's close this out. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society and the final news episode of the year. We will see you back for regular Nintendo news coverage in January. If you are not in our Discord, you should be in our Discord, because if other news stuff pops up, we will discuss it there for sure. Email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. And we will send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.